start recording. I'll have my partner Emily here introduce our guest presenter, Cassie Gerst, shortly, but first, a couple of housekeeping items. For those of you that are just joining, please go ahead and change your name to reflect your first name, last initial, so that we don't have to call on you by your Zoom screen name if you have a question. If you have colleagues or other staff that had wanted to attend this session but couldn't, the recording as well as the slides of our presenter will be available on our website after the session, 1 or 2 days, depending on how slow my computer wants to be downloading it. Also, if you have missed any of our past sessions or want to rewatch them or review those are also available online, as well as links to register for any of our future monthly professional development sessions. And then for those of you who are new to or are not familiar with AIWP on here, I would just like to welcome you first and say that if you are interested in joining AIWP, that I will put my contact information in the chat box. Please feel free to reach out, and I would love to talk to you about joining us. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to my partner, Emily, to introduce Cassie.
Hi, everybody. Emily Harris with AIWP. Today, we are excited to bring you Cassie Gerst, who is a member of the Burlington Community School District, where she works as the 21st Century Community Learning Center Grant Coordinator. 21 CCLC sites serve a majority population of underserved youth in after-school programming, and the Pieces program, which she is the grant coordinator for, provides academic enrichment, social and emotional learning supports, snacks, physical activity, and other fun for students before and after school. I will say that the Pieces program has done a wonderful job of transferring over to being a virtual program if their school district does have online learning. So Cassie is very, very knowledgeable about engaging youth virtually. Cassie, if you want to go ahead and take over, you can start presenting. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you for that introduction. I'm going to start by telling you that one of my favorite movies is The Grinch, and I recite kind of things from there all year long. So I wanted to wear something fun when we're together today. And so while I don't have to wear a mask because my office door is closed, I did bring one that I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole because of social distancing. And I had to wear my shirt, which says 6 feet, people. So while I may be coming from you in a virtual way, even if we were together, I would stay 6 feet apart from you. But I digress. So I'm Cassie Gerst with the school district here in Burlington, Iowa. I have lots of roles, one of which was touched on. I oversee the after-school programming here for K-8 in our district, and I also oversee our mentoring programs. We have a youth mentoring program, which has gone virtual as well. I oversee our homeless youth in the McKinney-Vento Act, write grants for the district, and it goes on and on. So I've been thoroughly engaged in switching and how do we continue to engage our youth virtually in many different ways. And so I'm here to share with you kind of some whys, some meat of it, some how-to, some all kinds of different things. And so I hope that you'll find it valuable with our time today. So in the chat box, some of you shared kind of where you were and your name and your role with youth. But I want you to take a survey because I really want to know a little bit more. So if you have a second screen or a phone or something where you can go to the website, and I'm going to put the link in the chat, and you click on that link, it's going to take you to my All About You. And so what I want to know from you is who's on the phone and how long you have worked with youth. And that gives me an idea as I'm progressing through this presentation to make sure that I tailor it a little bit to our audience. So when you go to that link and pollev.com/CassieGerst185, it's going to take you to 2 questions. And the first, how long have you worked with youth? And the second, do you lead virtual programming now at all? So if you could take a minute and look at that, enter that in, and I'm gonna kind of keep going as you are entering in your information, because that'll allow me to look at it as we're moving along.
Sorry, I'm listening to you.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so to start with today, we are going to do a Brain Smart Start. And this is a wonderful way to engage with your students as well, or any youth that you're working with. You can also start PD this way. And so we're going to take a minute to connect virtually in this manner. So I'm going to bring her over here. And let me know with a thumbs down or something if you have any trouble hearing this.
Good morning, Conscious Discipline friends and family. Thank you for joining us again today for the Brain Smart Start. My name is Amanda Bagwell, and I'm a Conscious Discipline certified instructor coming to you today from Franklin, Tennessee. So hi, y'all. All right, let's get started. If you were with me last week, we started by uniting our hearts around a common idea. And I don't know about you, but inspirational quotes just get me going. I love to read things that inspire me and set my heart and mind in the right place. So I'm going to offer us a quote again today to just reflect upon and choose to see how we might apply it to our life. So St. Teresa of Calcutta, or as many people know her, Mother Teresa, said that if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. So we're all finding ourselves at home right now with our family for most of us. But what might be missing is that ingredient of love, because when we're together in such a confined space for such a long period of time, it's inevitable that things won't go our way, that there will be behaviors and attitudes that are a little less than desirable, and we're not feeling the love. But in Conscious Discipline, the power of love offers us this idea that love isn't about a feeling at all. Love is about choosing to see the best. So instead of seeing defiant, disrespectful, or disruptive behavior, I can choose to see that that person in front of me is just missing some skills. This time in our world right now is hard for all of us. So especially the younger ones in our homes who don't already have a fully developed set of emotional regulation skills or executive functioning skills. This might be hard to navigate. So I'm inviting you today to offer the power of love that says I choose to see the best. Instead of seeing these behaviors in the negative way that I might be tempted to see them, I'm going to see them as a call for help. I'm going to see them in a way that allows me to choose to see the best in that person. And so if you're willing to unite your heart to the power of love today, I invite you to repeat after me. I choose to see
I choose
the
to
best
see
in you.
the best in you.
And you is whoever you're talking to. It could be yourself in the mirror, or it could be that other person in front of you. All right, so now we're going to disengage the stress. So we're going to just do what we did last week with our affirmation breaths. We're going to take a deep breath in, and I'm going to say, I choose to see. And then we're going to let that breath out, and I will say, the best in others. So here we go. Deep breath in. I choose to see.
Choose to
And let
see
it out. The best in others. Again, deep breath in. I choose to see. And let it out. The best in others. One more time. I choose to see.
I choose to see
And let it out. The best in others.
the best in others.
All right. So for a connection activity today, I offer you this opportunity to connect with all of those of us who are going to do this, and also with those in your home or who you might reach out to via FaceTime or social media in some way, to offer the power of love to someone else, choosing to see the best in them. So it might be in the moment of upset that you're able to pause and remember this and choose to focus on the missing skill. Or it might be through a word of encouragement that you offer to someone through a note or through just a positive word that you speak to them. So choose to connect with someone in your world today. And by doing that, you're connecting with all of us who are also going to do that same thing. So our commitment for today just ties it all together. So I ask that you might write down or just make a mental note and commit to offering the power of love to someone in your world today. It could be yourself. You may need to offer yourself a little bit of grace and a little bit of love. All right, guys, until we meet again, hopefully next week, from my heart to yours, I wish you well.
Okay, so that is a Brain Smart Start. And I hope you breathed with me because I certainly did, and it will make this presentation so much better. So Brain Smart Start has a few different elements. There was the element of unite, how to unite everybody together. And we are all doing that today virtually by first we did this activity together. So we're all doing the same thing at the same time. And then there's connect. And to connect, there's actually 4 elements of connection. I don't know if someone has a question or they just need to mute. But there are 4 elements of connection. So true connection has eye contact, and that is super hard right now, right? But that means not to be on so when we're leading programming with kids, not to be on our phones, not to have other things going on, not to answer our phone, but to truly look into the camera with them and be present with them. Because being present is also the 4 elements, second element for connection, true connection. So being present in the moment. Touch we are not doing. I mean, come on, people. I am not touching anybody, but there is some kind of touch. So hopefully if you are in your household with someone you can touch, or your dog or whatever, touch is definitely important for connection. And you can still do that in programming with virtual greetings. And so you can do virtual high fives, hugs, peace signs. There's all kinds of butterflies, snakes. There's all kinds of things that you can do with greetings that are no touch. And lastly, make it a playful situation. And so to have true connection, we need eye contact, to be present, to have touch, and be in a playful situation. Okay, and then to disengage stress. We are all feeling stress. Let me tell you, yesterday was the first time I have been over 5 hours without being in the same presence of my 7th grade daughter. She was quarantined, and then we went to 100% online, and she's special needs, so I can't leave her home alone. So when I started back at work in the actual office yesterday, I was like, hallelujah. But throughout this whole time, let me tell you, there wasn't a day that went by where she didn't look at me and goes, Mommy, breathe. And then she would make me breathe 3 times. So disengaging stress by breathing is very important. And the last thing is a commitment. And so to commit, and everybody commit to the same thing. And so in this, our role today, we were all committing to show that grace to someone, whether that's ourselves or someone else. And so having a Brain Smart Start to your virtual engagement with your youth really sets everybody up together and starts it, and we're all on the same page. There we go. All right, so what are we going to do today? So today we are going to talk about developmental relationships and the framework and tools and different activities that you can do virtually with youth. The importance of social emotional learning and incorporating SEL into your program. I mentioned conscious discipline because that's what all my programs use here in the Burlington School District. But I'm going to share their free tools. They're things that you can use at home with your own families, at school, for professional development with your staff. And that's where a Brain Smart Start comes from. Then I'm going to share with you some online activities, some formats for using and engaging youth virtually online that I have all used, some different curriculum ideas for you that can be done virtually, and then how to truly engage in that virtual platform. It does not like to go forward. Up. There we go. Okay. So I want to take a minute about the developmental relationships and where that comes from. If you know anything in the realm of positive youth development, which my master's is actually in, then you know about the Search Institute. So they're a research firm in Minneapolis with decades of experience in how to connect with youth to really help them thrive. And they, from their research, had the developmental assets. And now over the last few years, their research has delved into this developmental relationships. And so they're going to touch on this, and then I'm going to go into just a little bit more detail. So please enjoy this video.
Pretty much everybody who works with kids or interacts with them knows that relationships matter incredibly for how they develop, they perform in school, where they end up in the future. But that doesn't mean you know how to build a great relationship with a young person who you work with or that you just care about. At Search Institute, we are 4 years into a major project of research to try and open that black box of transformative relationships in kids' lives and really figure out what happens in relationships that help kids be and become their best selves. What we've discovered is that there are 5 critical elements of a developmental relationship. The first of those elements is kind of obvious. It's expressing care. And the key idea there is letting kids know that they matter to you.
Be dependable. Listen. Believe in me. Be warm. Encourage.
The second element of a developmental relationship is challenging growth. And that means pushing kids to continually get better, no matter how well they're already doing.
Expect my best. Strict. Perfecto feeling. Hold me accountable.
The third element is providing support, and that means helping kids complete tasks and achieve their goals.
Navigate. Empower. Advocate. Set boundaries.
The fourth element is sharing power, and that's about treating kids with respect and giving them a say.
Respect me.
Include me.
Collaborate. Let me lead.
And the fifth element is expanding possibilities, which means connecting kids with people and places that broaden their worlds.
Broaden horizons. Inspire. Connect.
We know from our studies that when kids experience relationships that are characterized by these 5 elements, they're much more likely to possess key social emotional skills like motivation and a sense of belonging, empathy, and much less likely to engage in risk behaviors. Whether you're working with kids in your job or raising them at home or just interacting with them in your community, we know that if you express care, challenge growth, provide support, share power, and expand possibility, you'll be doing tremendous things to help those kids be and become their best selves. If you'd like to know more about developmental relationships, click the links in the description below and subscribe to our YouTube channel for continuing updates from Search Institute.
Now, if you don't want to go to their website and hire someone, I actually am certified by Kent, by the Search Institute, to lead presentations and modules and training on developmental relationships. And so you can always reach out to me and I'm happy to touch base. But this is a short, brief part of what we're going to talk about today. But I wanted to talk about it because if we think about relationships, now let's first think about toothpaste. Right? All right. So with toothpaste, you have an active ingredient, and that's fluoride. You also have a lot of inactive ingredients, you know, the things that makes it sudsy, the taste of it, some flavoring, all kinds of little things that are in there. Well, our work with kids are kind of like that. The active ingredient is relationships. The inactive ingredients are sometimes what we get focused on, and that is our grant goals. Should we change this process today? How are we going to incentivize kids to come? So we sometimes get focused on these other things, and we really need to focus on that active ingredient, which is our relationships first. And so we're going to talk about this framework because these 5 elements, especially now when we've been virtual for 6 months and contained to our households, is so important that we are doing relationships first and making that a priority within our virtual environment. So what they are, the definition from Search Institute, is that close connections through which young people discover who they are, gain abilities to shape their own lives, And then learn how to interact with and contribute to the world. And right now, it's pretty not the world. It's pretty much right here. So those key elements are in red, those key outcomes for you in how to define what the relationship developmentally is. So basically, it's 3 outcomes that we are, right? So it's identity, where the child knows this is who I am. It is agency, where the child is, this is what I do matters. What I do matters. And they have that sense of agency and identity. And the third is community, that I am better. This is the youth. I am better when I am connected to others and they are connected to me. And if we have to do that in a virtual world right now, I say, let's do it. Because those are the 3 things that youth need in these relationships. So the first one, expressing care, and I think most people on this phone, this is kind of a no-brainer, right? This is the key to relationships. However, I caution you that many programs are where we care about them and we have great big hearts, but let's make sure that there's these other elements going on as well in our relationship and in our programming with youth, because we need all of them in order to really see good outcomes with our kids. So expressing care, show them that they matter, right? And we heard our kids say what these things are. And based on our poll, 57% of the people on the call have been working with youth for 11 plus years. So this is a no-brainer, right? And those about 35% are 1 to 3 years. And you wouldn't get into work with youth if you didn't have a care and a passion to do this. So the second element is to challenge growth. And this can be hard, but it's to push them to keep them doing better, right? So that we expect the best in them. And we are, if you think about when it comes to stretch, if you think about your own comfort, your zone of comfort, your comfort zone, where are you most comfortable? And it probably isn't this. It probably is not in this virtual programming to connect to youth. And so it's the same with them. They may be very comfortable being online and connecting to one another and making friendships virtually, but this is a stretch for us. So how do we stretch them to go further? And maybe it is in having this format and having a format that holds them accountable, that we reflect on what their failures are, and that we bring together this caring environment in a virtual way. All right, the third element is to provide support, help them achieve their tasks and their goals. And there's this scenario of where youth was not functioning well at home and they went into residential treatment. And in residential treatment, there was a lot of boundaries for this youth. They had to place limits on them and really keep track of them. And then this youth really succeeded. So what we learned from that is that in their world before going into residential, there wasn't enough boundaries around this person, and they really thrive more on having those. And I can't tell you I've been doing youth work since 2005, and no matter where I go, kids want boundaries and they want consequences, but we need to know up front what's expected of them so they know where's these lines to draw. And absolutely advocate for them. It is so important to hear what our youth want and then to advocate for them to have that. I can't tell you in the last 6 months how many times I've heard something that a youth needed and then tried to do it. The most recent one is working with a church in town in order to open up some youth homework time so that kids had a place to go who are struggling with internet connectivity and are really far behind in classes. And so listening to what they need, finding out a way to do it, and really advocating for those things to happen is super important. But also helping them stand up for themselves. How do I help them have that voice and tell people, you know what, I'm so glad you did this, but 1 to 3 is not going to work for me. I really want it from 4 to 6. How do we help them advocate for themselves? Okay, so then our number 4 is to share power. And let me say, during this online time, this one I see as a definite lead. I'm not seeing a lot of kids having significant roles in their virtual engagement, whether that be in their school or what have you. Do they have a say in what's happening to them? Do they have a say in how they're going to be treated or interact with you online? Let them take some lead. Ask them to problem solve with you. What is it that you want to see online? What is it that's going to be helpful to you? How do you want to interact, and what can I do? And then give them a role to play while you're together. You know, have them keep track of the chat. Have them make sure that people are using their first name and last initial, whatever that be, but have them lead and take a role and ask them what they want. And yes, I'll be sharing all the videos out with everybody. Okay, expanding possibilities. I can't think of a better time in our world where we can easily connect people to one another and to programs across the country. Every program that I come into says that they're not doing things in person, but they have a virtual program that they can connect you with. And so now is the time where we can really expose them to people in Alaska, in LA, and all over the place with after we listen to what it is that they're interested in. And so we can inspire them, and we can really broaden their horizons by bringing these experiences into this virtual platform in a way that we haven't been able to do in person before. And then connection. And we talked about connection, and we're going to talk more about that, but how important that is, that we're introducing them to people that can help them grow. And we can do that virtually as well. All right. So if we look at these elements and we take two of them, and let's take challenging growth and expressing care. And so if we look at that and we look at the quadrant within that, there's a lot of people who spend time in here, and I know you can all probably think of somebody that's in here where they care with their whole heart, and they care so much about the kids, but they're not challenging them at all. They're not giving them any kind of growth challenge. And then we have over here where it's really challenging, but there's very little caring going on. And I do work for a school district, but I can say that I know of many online teachers teaching right now that are real good at challenging, and here's your assignments, and let me teach you this because I've got 45 minutes with you, and here it is. But where's the heart? Where's the showing that they care and listening first and acknowledging before we get into the content? And that's really important. So it's important to look at not just one element, but two or three, and then where are our program or our virtual interaction with them falling in this? Okay, so if we take, and this was a study, I'm going to pull it out so I make sure I know it's 395 adolescents between 6th and 12th grade, middle schools and high schools, public across the country that were involved in the survey. And they said, okay, let's ask them questions about the relationships that they have. And so if you can see on here where there is all 5 elements that a child has, or no elements that a child has, where we see these outcomes, and these are most outcomes that we write into our grants or we write into our program to measure. Are they caring about others? Are they taking responsibility for themselves? Are we seeing social emotional skills and decision-making skills? So the more developmental relationship, those elements that a relationship has with this youth, the more we're seeing these positive outcomes. Inversely, the more elements of the developmental relationship they have, in this survey, the kids were less likely to use alcohol, attempt suicide, and use tobacco within a 30-day time frame. And so, these are important things to consider, because we used to look at that research on developmental assets and these 40 things that youth need in their life to be caring, contributing members of our society. But now if we look at, well, I have to have a relationship with youth, right, to introduce these elements to help them thrive, well, we're seeing how important each one of these 5 elements really are. So if we look at the type of relationships, and when I looked at your poll, some of you are doing virtual activities, most of you are not, and some of you are really interested in it but don't know how to start. So if we think about, you know, if 50% of you are working with youth for a long time, whether you're program leaders or teachers, how many of you are parents? If we look at the 5 elements to a developmental relationship, parents outstandingly have more in these. If you look at express care, this blue line, right? Obviously, we're going to think parents, siblings, adolescents think really highly of their friends, teachers not so much, program leaders about 50%. But look at challenge growth, and are we providing support? Are we sharing our power with the kids, and are we expanding their possibilities? Now, I would think that our program leaders are really expanding possibilities, providing support, but always this sharing power tends to be something we need to do. But overall, if we look at these 5 areas, these are the 5 things that we just looked at. Parents overwhelmingly have the strongest developmental relationships with kids, and teachers have the worst. So something to really think about as we go about our day and learning more about virtual interactions and engaging youth virtually or otherwise. Okay, so it's a lot of information, a lot of different things. So I'm going to rhyme for you. Now, this was created by a intern at the Search Institute who wanted to make this easy. Now, I'm not much of a rapper, so, you know, bear with me and how I'm going to do this. Okay. Expressing care should not be rare. Express care everywhere. Express care. Don't get an au pair. Make an oath. Challenge growth. Challenge growth all the way to the Hippocratic Oath. Challenge growth, you stupid oath. Provide support when I come up short. Provide support. Help me build a fort. Provide support, especially in traffic court. Provide support even if all they do is play night fort. It didn't rhyme. Provide support so they don't turn out like Voldemort. Get down from your tower and share your power. Share power and make mine our. Share power until it's happy hour. Expand their possibilities by showing them opportunities. Expand possibilities to increase their capabilities. Expand possibilities and give them responsibilities. Expand possibilities until less it leads to liabilities. Out. All right. So a fun, great way to kind of remember all of these different elements to your relationship. Now, I did this next slide. I did this survey to myself kind of in the beginning of the pandemic, and I've done it to myself since then. I recommend you go here, and then in maybe 6 months or 3 months, go here again. So I will, and I'm going to provide this link. Let's see if I can, I don't think I can copy it right from here. No. Well, I'm going to provide you the link, but go to Survey Search Institute, and you'll have these slides in this link. But if you go here, you can actually take the relationship check survey. And so it looks like this, and you just click on the boxes and it spits out a report on how you're doing in your work with youth right now. So I absolutely love it. Take it several times, take it now. And then when you're done, it's going to shoot out not only where you sit within the 5 elements, but it's also going to give you this. It's going to give you tools and resources in each of those elements. So if you're like, I don't have anything left in me to care about anybody else, virtual or otherwise, well, then Express Care is going to be an area you need to work on. And so during the pandemic, it gives you like, what should I do? How should I do it? What are different approaches during the pandemic that I can use? And then it gives you an actual thing to do virtually with your youth to do this element within your program. And so this is the 4 S's interview. So I'm not going to go into detail here, but it tells you exactly how to do it, how much time you'll need, what you'll need to do and everything. And you do this over Zoom or Google Meet. So within each of the 5 elements, the activities that they have that are available for free, the 4 S's interview. To challenge growth, they have letters to your future self or time capsule. For shared power, they have establishing group norms within your program, and they have a wish well, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And then a visual routine that you can set up and post within. I mean, that's just how you lead your meetings, but share this power, give roles to the kids that are going to be in your virtual platform. And then to provide support, I'm sure most of you have done a high-low, or let's celebrate today, or what was a high today, a low today. Do some check-ins before you get started in content. And then to expand your possibilities, the Search Institute also does the Sparks. And that's where we ask kids and try to find out what they're interested in. What is it? What are you passionate about? What makes, what makes you float? And then what can I do in order to help you and encourage that and light that fire under that spark that you have shown me that you're interested in? And so there's lots of different Sparks activities that you can do, and then stairs and different career things that you can build into to expand their possibilities, and now bring those people right in front of them virtually in this platform. If you want more professional development on this, I said, I'm available, but also Youth for Youth. It's free. They have tons of webinars and trainings and all kinds of fantastic stuff. And I participated in a lot during the pandemic over the summer, but they have a ton of free resources and trainings on integrating and being intentional in your program design. So I've used a lot of those with myself and my staff before. So that's a great resource for you too. All right. So we can't talk about relationships and working with youth and engaging youth if you're not recognizing this big thing in the room, which is the importance of social emotional learning and how to do that virtually with our kids. So, I talked about conscious discipline. They posted this at the end of April, and I just loved it, right? And it talks about healthy relationships. And really, this is true with all relationships, right? We have rapture, we have rupture, and we have repair modes. Repair modes after a conflict, and our kids are in conflict, and we are in conflict and trauma. But after that conflict, it is a potential to increase our trust, increase youth resilience, and the overall strength of our relationship in how we work with kids after that happens. And maybe virtually it just blew up and it was bad and it just did not work this day. So what do we do about that? Can we connect with that child afterwards? Can we shoot them an email, a text, a phone call, a letter? Oh my goodness. And really connect with them to repair, because that's a great opportunity to role model, how to work with them after this happens. And they just had this really great thing. And I think it's so important that, we and our kids were emotionally worn down, right? I mean, I spent weeks with my daughter, all day long, all night long, no breaks. It can be exhausting, but we can either choose to wallow in that pessimism and incontentness and grumpiness, or we can approach this as this new fantastic way to interact with our kids. Okay, so if you don't know where for social emotional learning platforms, go to Castle. Castle is the housing platform, and researches and really validates that it is quality, best practices, evidence-based social emotional learning. And so go to there. That's where you always want to start. And so the importance is that when we are considering social emotional work with our kids, that we're talking to our kids, that we're talking to them, and we're building empathy within them and in ourselves. We don't know the situation, but how can we be empathetic to whatever is going on and give them grace and patience and be understanding of their conditions, whatever that is, and how they're coming to you virtually. I've met lots of dogs and pet rocks and all kinds of things, and then kids who don't want to show their house whatsoever at all, and which could be a sign that you maybe need to touch base with them, because maybe they've had really bad experiences virtually. And so how do we hear them and acknowledge what their concerns are as well? And so there's these competencies that Castle looks at, and I bring this up because of what I'm going to show you next. So these are the what they look at and what they want out of their social emotional programs, so that it builds self-awareness within the kids. It builds self-management so that they're able to handle their emotions and conflict resolution, that they are socially aware of how they're interacting. And I can't tell you how many times I've said to my daughter, mute yourself, or let somebody else talk. So, are they socially aware, even in this virtual platform, about how they're interacting with the group? Building those relationship skills and responsible decision making, so that when you go into Castle and it looks like this and you're looking for different programs and approaches, it takes those 5 competencies up here, and then it gives you, okay, am I going to do a check-in with my kids? If I am, here's different ideas on how I can do a check-in with them. And then here's what they'll do. It covers self-awareness. It covers being socially aware. It covers relationship skills and relationship building, and then decision making. And so I just highly recommend this. And it's not that you have to buy some kind of curriculum. It is just, okay, if I want to do some SEL, and there's lots of grant money out there with this, let me find a place where it can do, and let me just find for free ideas that I can implement right now, next week, tomorrow, and with different grades as well. Okay. So we use Conscious Discipline, my program. I found this about 5 years ago, and it's this overall approach. It's not this curriculum I'm leading lessons on. It's centered on me and how am I interacting with my kids, and where is my brain state? Where's my kids' brain state? And then how am I going to be able to understand that my kids' behavior isn't because of they're a bad kid, but it's more about, I don't have the skills to deal with what I'm feeling or what I need or time management. And so I'm reacting this way. And so how can I now look at my kid and say, oh, you need this? So we saw an 89.5% reduction in office referrals during my after school time, just by implementing this process. And so if you want to check it out, go to see Conscious Discipline. Our Brain Smart Start was from there. A lot of the different content that I use is from there, and they are in the Castle system, and also ranked 8 out of 10 in a Harvard analysis in the top 25 social emotional learning programs. So a safekeeper ritual, especially now online, is also really key. So when we are looking at keeping our kids safe, that means virtually as well. So our ritual is that my job is to keep you safe, and your job is to help me keep you that way. And that means emotionally, physically, all of it, right? As we're in our virtual space together. And so you can create virtual safekeeper rituals, and all of these resources are free on the Conscious Discipline website. But I do that at home as well, and it's absolutely wonderful. Also some things, okay, even my breathing feeling dolls have PPE on them. It's important that we bring that into all of our elements, but that one, we acknowledge what our kids are feeling, and that it's okay to say if they're like, I don't want to leave my mom's side because I don't want her to get COVID. I'll just go with her and then I'll get whatever she gets, right? They're feeling things. And we can say, and adults often do, it's okay. It's all going to go away. It's going to get better. You know what? Maybe we have to sit with that feeling. And it's good to acknowledge that they're having that feeling. And by setting up our virtual space and engaging with them with check-ins and high-lows and brain smart starts and all of these different elements, okay, now we're taking your time to say, hey, they're feeling something, and let's acknowledge that before we can learn anything. They need to know I care. Wish well boards are awesome. They are where you think of a time where you felt the most loved in your life, and you envision that feeling for a minute, and then you're going to send that feeling out and wish well. So our kids might have a parent, a nurse, their friend. They might have people that they're really thinking about and is forefront in their mind, their class member who hasn't come up at all for a while. Whoever that is, maybe we want to do that check-in in the beginning and have a wish well. Maybe it's a board, maybe we put it in the chat, maybe it's a visual, but whatever it is, and give the kids a moment to say, I wish them well. And now we're going to move on with content. They also have these Schubert books that tell stories, and those are available online, and they wrote one for COVID time as well. And all of these researchers things are available for free. Okay, moving on, and some platforms and things that now you can use with kids. Okay, a couple things before you get started. One, know your platforms. Know what the kids use and know what's available to you. So we're a Google district. So I have a lot of Google kind of platforms and Google Classrooms that I use. Know what they're using and what they're comfortable with and what they don't. And then remember to keep just the basics, keep it consistent. However you're leading your program, and do it consistently, because they need that routine when their whole world changes week to week or day to day with I'm online, I'm not online, I'm going back hybrid, they're not going back at all. Now I can't go over to Josie's house, whatever it is. But we need that routine and that consistency, and express in the beginning what the confidentiality is going to be like when you're in this virtual platform. Next, ask your kids, ask them what they want to see. Get creative, right? And I'll show you how we're going to get creative next, but seek their output and their input. And then remember, because we're all experiencing trauma right now, but have that trauma lens when we're working with our kids, and know that we don't know what their past 6 months have been like. We might know them before, but do we know what's happened lately? So keep that in mind, and do some professional development around trauma-informed care. And then just with COVID, this is a different world, and not just with COVID, but politically and activism. And so there may be lots of things being brought forth within your conversation. Acknowledge them. Also question their sources and their sources of information, and be sure to share out with them community related things going on, and involve youth in your decision making, in your panel, and whatever is happening, because these are really important and we need to acknowledge them. Okay, some meat, some fun and games, and some places to go to be creative. Okay, I love Flippity. You can, post me a thumbs up or something if you've ever used it. I've used lots of them. It's super easy. It works with Google. So the quiz show is one of my favorites. I've done the scavenger hunt multiple times, created one, had other people create them, led them, participated in them. There is word scrambles. There's just a ton of things that you could do within Flippity, and it's fun. It's so easy. I'm going to show you, this is what the quiz show looks like. You'll download a template, and then in here, you could change the points. You could change the categories just by typing over these categories. And then you write the question and the answer in these boxes. And then you'll get a link when you publish it, and that you just go to the link, and this is what it looks like. And I've led this where I have my kids in certain teams, and I unmute the teams until it's their time, and I see who's going to represent them. And then that person's the only person that unmutes. And then they'll say, all right, Disney movies for 300. I click on this, the question pops up. And if they get it wrong, I hit the X, and then the next team can guess. And whoever gets it right, I check, and then it applauds, and we move on. And it's super fun. You do it on lots of different content, and super easy to make. Kahoots are really fun. So I've done a bunch of Kahoots. You could do them about getting to know you. You could do a quiz on anything you want, and you could put your own pictures in, say how long it is, make it public. You could have people challenge each other, but Kahoot is also a really fun thing to use. All right, so we use Google Classrooms. We're a Google school, so Google Classrooms are super easy to use, and pretty much everything posts there. I'm not spending time in there today with you, but what I wanted to say was that there are Kahoot and Flippity also work within that platform. You can still do your Brain Smart Starts with your students, whether that's Zoom or Google Meets. Make sure that you have somewhat of a private platform. If you're doing Zoom and you do the advanced, there's, you can have the kids where they can animate and actually write on the screen, or you can turn that off. You can have them where they can rename themselves or they can't. So just make sure to look at all of those platforms, and try to connect through a platform that they know, or else make sure that you get training and they do as well. Okay, Ed Puzzles. Lovely, wonderful, definitely do it. So I use Screencastify, and I will record, like I'll have a PowerPoint, I'll do the PowerPoint, record with Screencastify up there, and then make the video, and then post that video in Ed Puzzle, upload it, and then I can say stop at, like I'm watching the video and then I stop it and then I can do a multiple choice question. I can do a open chat question. And then the child, when they get to that point, the video just stops, they answer it. And then once they hit submit, then it keeps going. I did that with staff PD as well and did an ed puzzle for them. It's super great. Training Wheels is an organization run by Michelle Cummings, and it's training-wheels.com. And she does, she's got 5 free downloads and PDFs that you can have about team building activities from 6 feet apart, virtual team building dice and icebreakers. They're fantastic. I've used a lot of their content. You can also do that flippity virtual scavenger hunt. Dr. Clue will create them for you, and you and your staff can participate in one. So I brought on some summer AmeriCorps and did that with them, but Training Wheels will also do them, and they've got some YouTube videos on that. I use MindWorks, and I'm going to grab it. Hold on. Da, 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 da. Okay, so they get this tote. All my kids, I bought this curriculum, and it's 36 lessons that you lead virtually. And so the teacher gets the PD, or my staff member, after school staff, gets the PD with the lesson. They lead the lesson on Monday. They take out the supplies that the kid needs for this lesson, and the kid takes them out at home and they do the activity. On Wednesday, they do a STEAM extension, and on Fridays is show and tell. So MindWorks has a great curriculum that you can use. STEMFidity also has some virtual STEAM, and then every partner that I have has programming. The library, 4-H, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, ISU, and you can bring all of those into your virtual platform now. So, so all that's available. I have a bunch of links that I'm going to send when you get this presentation, but there's links from mentoring programs, the National Mentor, substance abuse prevention, safety considerations on keeping kids safe during COVID. So you'll have this entire link from the Youth Collaborative. And then polls everywhere. That's exactly what we used in the beginning, and that's where you went. So you can do these polls here very easily, and they have word clouds and all kinds of different things that you can do. And I've used the word clouds quite a bit. So pretty easy to use, and I use the free version, and it's stuck. There we go. So feel free to do that. But they have word polls, interactive maps, multiple choice, random. If you wanted to do a dice or cards or something, random has all of that for free, and you can just pull that up. Padlets are also very easy. Kids are used to using that in school. The Kahoots that I told you about, and Flippity. And lastly, if you want any virtual team building, they do have 3, Training Wheels does have those 3 handbooks on how to do that, a YouTube channel as well with a lot of videos for you. So my final piece of advice, and this is lessons learned. 1, staff needs training. I made a ton of videos and Screencastify and stuff to train my staff on how to use platforms that I might be asking them to use. 2, our students are not logging on at the same time. And so we need to talk to them and find out what's going to work for them. So for us, we do some videos on a Monday. We post a second video on a Tuesday. I have staff who monitor the chat. And then on Friday, we have a show and tell time. So make sure that you're talking to your kids about what works, and usually videos work. Our students are some of them are very not comfortable having their video up. Some of you probably are too. So keep that in mind. If you ask them and it's mandatory, they show their video, they may not participate at all, especially our kids with anxiety and some mental health needs. The kids need materials at home. You can't lead us like slime building if they don't have what they need to make the slime. So always keep that in mind. And then make sure to do a reflection or a wrap around activity so that you can debrief after it's done. All right, excuse my language, and I hope I don't offend, but this is what our kids are thinking right now. That teacher in there, she don't know about math. She makes me want to drink. And the brother says, "Stop it, Carol. Mom is trying." We all feel like this right now. And so what questions, if at all, do you have for me? If you want to type in the chat, if you want to unmute and ask me.
I'll also put Cassie's contact info, if that's okay with you, Cassie, your email in here, and in case they want to reach out personally. Right. But thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think you really, really provided everyone with a great amount of resources there. And I will ask you for these slides so that people have access to those, especially that last page of links as well.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna leave you all with this up while Bree wraps up, just because I think it's a really important, especially now. So thank you all for this opportunity. Bree, I'll let you follow up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cassie. And if everyone could just put their thanks in the chat, that would be great. Like I said, this video will be available on our website either this afternoon or tomorrow, depending on how my computer runs. And you can find that under our professional development tab. I will put that link in the chat box as well. So yeah, go ahead and encourage your colleagues to check it out online. And while you're there, register for our January professional development webinar. We will be hearing from Bob Hendrickson with IVERS about some new developments in assistive technology for persons with disabilities. So we hope to see you all in January. Thank you.
Thank you.